Hello everybody. Now, a lot of people who voted for Brexit and Trump cite anti-globalism as one of their criteria for doing so. I don't understand that at all. Since the dawn of civilization, human beings have gathered together in increasingly larger groups. It's a necessity of agriculture to have many pairs of hands, and the excess production of delayed return societies require hierarchies and infrastructures to organise and defend the stockpiles and assets. If we're going to live on free and domesticated, like cows and pigs in a barn, we need these elevated levels of organisation, right? So we slowly abandoned our foraging routes and gathered into villages. We stopped roaming and stayed put, counter to every fibre of our psychology, which makes me think we were driven by necessity rather than the convenience of crops, because they're not convenient. They're actually far more work than foraging. A hunter-gatherer averages 2 or 3 hours a day to get all his shit done. Then he farts about for the rest of it. For 3 million years. Hunting and gathering is skill intensive, not labour intensive. You can find these figures suggesting they worked for maybe 3 hours a day, but the problem here is defining what work actually is. Hunter-gatherers' work was actually play. Their work was the stuff that we now do for fun, that we do as recreation. Seriously. I mean, who wants to slog their guts out in a field all day, every day? Agriculture is far more difficult and boring than foraging because our natural feedback systems evolved to reward the latter. But why do you think we travel for recreation? That's progress, isn't it? We do what we're supposed to, travel and play for what? 2 weeks of the year. The rest of the time, what are we doing? Working to fund that 2 weeks of freedom. We've got the whole thing ass backwards. Anyway, we divided labour and became bored, bitter, easily manipulated, lesser humans. No longer well-rounded survival machines. Now only good at one thing, be it ploughing or planting or tool making or fighting or building, or the parasitic trades of religion and administration, which ultimately form the ruling class. And we domesticated more land and absorbed more villages and became tribal states and city-states. And we continued to rapidly grow across the short centuries. Technology improved, communication prospered, and trade became all important. Kingdoms became larger, forming empires. It seemed a natural thing to amalgamate. More hands means less work, right? Common sense. But we weren't working less, we were working more. Profit, not survival or happiness, became our goal. And we started to equate the two. We tied money to happiness, when happiness is only achieved by fulfilling our hierarchy of needs. Food, water, shelter, love. All free. It grows out the ground and falls from the sky. Money is a token abstract, not a need. And as the empires grew, the workers realised they were being exploited. They began to unionise, forcing the ruling class to the negotiating table. Slavery morphed into wage slavery under threat of violent revolution. and in some cases, violent revolution. 16-hour days became 12, then 10, then 8, and then 7. And 7-day weeks became 5, and then 4. Population size was finally benefiting humankind. We were no longer wasting our entire lives working. Collective bargaining was saving humanity from itself. There was light at the end of the civilization tunnel. The sunlight of freedom we hadn't felt in our faces for 10,000 years, since we planted the first crops and descended into the long dark of serving rich masters. The ruling class were clever though, and moved their businesses to simple places with no organised workers, and slavery kind of snuck back in. But the people said, what if we globalised and everybody had a say? There would be no one for the ruling class to exploit. So we tried to. The European Union was a giant step in that direction. The ruling class panicked. They don't like their underlings educating themselves and talking to each other. So they fired up their propaganda machines. They didn't need all the workers to sway the rhetoric and then the vote. Only some of them. The ones they could fool with inventions of national identity and ethnic pride and fear of the other. And the results were Brexit and Trump. And the ruling class sighed with relief, happy that their underlings were divided again and reclined amidst their gold. Don't forget to subscribe.